Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today is episode number 4 of Geeks Drop the Gauntlet. My name is J-Rad and this is...
Lefty.
You're a righty.
Yeah.
Alright, whatever.
Righty doesn't sound. Well, here we go. On today's episode, we're going to dip our toes into the most toxic, polarizing people outside of politics, Star Wars fandom.
Ooh.
When it comes to the sequel trilogy, you either hated it or just barely liked it. We're going to talk about the things we feel kind of drug this trilogy into the Sarlacc pit.
That is unfortunately a true statement. This is going to be a fun one. So, without further ado, I say let's just dive right in.
Good God.
We've got some topics, we got some bullet points we want to discuss and go over. Again, like we mentioned last episode, we're going to try and kind of do a little armchair quarterbacking here. But overall, the sequel trilogy was my least favorite trilogy of the whole thing. Let's be honest. Now, here's the first question. I'm going to kick it off with the first question.
Okay.
This is, I think, going to set the tone. Out of the sequel trilogy, which movie was your favorite?
7.
The Force Awakens?
Yeah.
Mine as well. And the reasoning behind that is probably because it follows A New Hope. So therefore, it's decent.
Fair.
And then it just goes downhill from there. So I think number one, I do want to put this out there. I think 7 did come out. I remember being in the theaters, and I actually remember leaving the theaters in a good mood. Hey, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it for what it was. I remember sitting through it and saying, man, that reminds me of the fourth. Wait, man, that reminds me of. Man, that reminds me of. But point is, overall, I thought it was good. I thought casting was good. I liked Oscar Isaac. Really like Oscar Isaac. I actually thought I might be in the minority here, but I thought Kylo Ren was good. I thought Adam Dredd.
You're not in the minority with Adam
I
Driver.
thought Adam Driver did a fantastic job with Kylo Ren. So there was a lot to look forward to because, let's go original trilogy real quick.
Daisy Ridley was well cast as well.
She was well cast, yeah.
I feel like her character probably needed to go through some stuff, but Daisy Ridley did a great job with what she had.
With what she was given, yeah, I agree. But again, leaving the 7th, just like the original trilogy, A New Hope, in my opinion, was the weakest. So I thought it was going to go up from there, and I was excited for what the series was going to give us. And we even got a tease of the big bad at the end, and you're like, who's Snoke? Oh my goodness. So go ahead and kick us off on some of these bullet points that you feel, because I'm pretty sure we're going to go episode 8 on.
I'm going to go after it.
Do it. Let's go.
I'm going to preface everything by saying I've been watching Star Wars my whole life.
Oh,
I saw episode 4 at the Far North Cinema when I was 3 on Dollar Day, and it just blew me away. Like, my only memory of it is Darth Vader just exploding through the door at the very beginning because he was just so scary,
menacing.
I felt like the biggest mistake that was made was bringing Palpatine back as the big bad in number 9.
Yes.
Palpatine was the most central figure during the ascension, the corruption, and the redemption of Anakin Skywalker, and
which was 6 movies long.
6 movies, and honestly, like, you think that Luke is the main character, and he is in the original trilogy, but when the prequel trilogies came out, it kind of made Anakin / Darth Vader the main character of the whole thing, and Darth Vader saving his son and killing the Emperor was basically central to everything for Darth Vader, and key to his redemption. And
absolutely,
it made it to where a corrupted Vader who was seduced by the dark side of the Force was able to come back to the light and actually be a Force ghost at the end of Return of the Jedi.
Yep.
And
that was huge.
Yes,
so cool.
Sidious, or Palpatine, served his purpose, and bringing him back weakened Vader's sacrifice. He died throwing Palpatine into the I don't know what the hell, the vent
energy
shaft or whatever.
Generator shaft, yeah.
He that sacrifice was lessened with Palpatine coming back.
I agree.
And I thought a better choice would have been to have Snoke actually reveal himself to be Darth Plagueis, who had figured out a way, as it was told in Episode 2, who had figured out a way to cheat death. And
Cloning.
His cheating death was cloning, and even though Darth Plagueis would have died at Sidious's hand sometime before Episode 2, or even Episode 1, and then he would have died at the hands of Vader in Snoke would have died at the hands of Kylo in Episode 8. He would be back, and he would be this cockroach who was exceptionally powerful that he could have essentially played Palpatine's role in Episode 9 as he's putting his fleet together, and he's been in hiding for a long time, or he's been making moves behind the scenes, and he knows that Luke Skywalker and his offspring are the only people that could have stopped him, and so he did what he could to corrupt first Kylo and then kill Luke in the process. And they just kind of ruined it all by having Palpatine come in.
Well, and the worst part to me is they didn't even explain who Snoke was.
Yeah,
they didn't even explain it.
You saw the bodies in the cloning lab, and I think there's some. Again, like, Star Wars fans are amazing in how
and being able to pick
observant they are in things.
Absolutely.
They can be very toxic, but they can be very observant. And there are a lot of things going around that Snoke was a clone of Luke that was failed, and then that they tried to boost the power using Grogu and Mandalorian. So there's some weird theories going around out there that would be kind of cool. But
those are awesome. We don't have anything set in stone of what or who he was.
And I didn't read the book series, so
I didn't either.
Feel free to flame on and
take
us out.
Flame on. But yeah, I thought that at the end of Episode 7, one of my biggest things going to 8 was, who is this guy? Mm-hmm. And I thought that was really cool because, in Star Wars, when even the original trilogy, or I'll go the prequels, because that was for me when I was growing up in the prequels. The best part is almost walking in and having a character come on screen, and you're like, wow, who are you? What is this? And then it explains and the story evolves, and you're like, oh my God, that was him? Oh, that was so cool. That's one of my favorite parts of anything is who are you? Oh my God, the reveal, is really cool. So that built it up so high for me. I was like, Episode 8 is going to be amazing. We're going to figure out hopefully who Snoke is.
Yeah.
He seems like this crazy menacing figure.
Yeah, he was just giant in the hologram too. He was just larger than life.
And I'll give it this, even in Episode 8, in the part where Rey was, we'll say, how do we want to call it? The Rey Kylo throne room scene, we'll call it, with Snoke. The one thing is that did give an illustration of his power. He was extremely powerful in the Force. Threw Rey around. He was doing stuff like this, whatever, and things were just flying around. He was completely held Rey in position. She couldn't do anything. The point there is he was extremely powerful, and so there was so much there. And even when I'll even go this far, even when he turned the lightsaber, Ben did or Kylo did, and cut him in half, and started that whole thing. I do remember sitting in theater. I was like, oh, you know what I mean? Oh shoot, it's going down. Yeah. And then they had one of the worst choreographed scenes of all time. But anyways, we'll skip past that. Watch some
plenty
YouTube
of videos
reviews
on that.
Watch some YouTube reviews specifically dissecting that scene. It's terrible. But anyways, point is that happened, and I do remember I was sitting in theater. I was like, oh, what direction is this going to go? That was insane. Then you have an awesome, in my opinion, acted and well-written scene right there, just up until this point. I'll explain. Where you have Kylo and Rey standing among the wreckage of the throne room. Snoke is gone. Snoke's guards are gone. And Rey is saying, hey, save my fleet. There's still time. Save my fleet. I want to talk about that too. But anyways, she's like, save my fleet. And Kylo's like, no, forget your fleet. Forget the Sith. Forget the Jedi. Forget everything that's been built up. You're holding on to this ancient thing. Let it all go. Join me. And when that scene right there, I was like, oh.
Snoke, Skywalker, the Sith, the Jedi, the Rebels, let it all die. Rey, I want you to join me. We can rule together and bring a new order to the galaxy.
Don't do this, Ben. Please don't go this way.
No, you're still holding on! Let go! Do you want to know the truth about your parents? Or have you always known? And you just hidden it away? You know the truth. Say it. Say it.
They were nobody.
They were filthy junk traders who sold you off for drinking money. The dead in a pauper's grave in the Jakku Desert. You have no place in this story. You come from nothing. You're nothing. But not to me.
And in the back of my head, sitting in the theater, I was like, I know which route they're going to go. The cynic in me, I know what route they're going to go. But me as a Star Wars fan, I was like, Rey, accept. Because now you could have a wild card. Now you could have two, as of what we know, because Snoke just died, of the only Force users left besides
That's
Luke.
basically it.
And that was it. And what are they going to do?
Leia was around.
Oh, that's true. I forgot Leia was around for a little long. That scene too. Anyway, sorry. I'm going to get distracted here.
We're not going to talk.
We're not going to talk about that either. But point is they, right then and there, I thought, set up something that could have changed the entire outcome or the entire story of the sequel trilogy right there. You have two characters that just now are a complete wild card, going off on their own, forgetting the good and the bad guys, and forging their own path. Where can you go from there? Anywhere. And I was stoked.
Yeah, well, and the thing that I really was hoping for in that particular scene was that if she did go with him, you've got the Resistance who was beaten back into a cave, and you've got Rey who was standing behind Kylo, because Kylo said something about join me and we can rule. So it's forget the Jedi, forget Skywalker, forget the Sith, all of that. So his proposal is that they are going to be gray Jedi, except red leaning.
Yeah,
like
maybe
Sith
leaning towards the dark.
Gray Jedi. And it would have been so just defeating to have the Resistance beaten back. They lose their Jedi that was going to be the hope for the future for them, and you don't know what direction the Jedi are going to go. Roll credits, 9 is going to be hype, and then and then they bring back Palpatine.
Well,
but,
even in that scene too, let's not forget the parents issue. I actually thought that was cool the way they went when he goes, you know who your parents are, and she's just looking, doesn't say anything. He's like, say it. They were nobody. They were nothing. You're nothing. You're a nobody, but not to me. And he was like, together we can do the blah, blah, blah. And, went on. I was like, that is awesome. And the idea that lineage didn't mean anything. Rey was who she was, not because of who she came from, but because of who she was. And I thought that was cool, because think of all the the powerful characters, anything, and Luke, Leia, Anakin, all these families, Skywalker families, all this kind of stuff. That's what it was all about. To have a character, a central character now, parents didn't mean anything. They were nothing. They were outcasts, or what were they? Junkers, traders, slavers.
Junkers in an unmarked grave.
Yeah. I thought that was cool.
And I felt like it was okay for her to come from nothing.
That exactly.
Anakin came from nothing.
Right.
And he is the most powerful Force user. And in all actuality, it would have been kind of an interesting development if Anakin was the chosen one and he was supposed to bring balance to the Force, and he sort of did. But in his failure as perceived by the Force entity or whatever, she was the new chosen one. To bring balance to the Force. She was born to nobody, and they didn't know what to do with her, and so it puts her on the same level as Anakin, coming from nothing, as an exceptionally powerful Force user who doesn't fall to this corruption, and so you kind of would have seen, because even if she took Kylo's hand, it wasn't going to end that way. Like,
No.
And if she had to defeat Kylo, like in the course of it, but from a storytelling perspective, but I think she should have come from nothing, just like Anakin.
Absolutely.
And it would have made a little bit more depth to her character.
And I think right there, what you just mentioned, even though if she did take his hand right there, they would have ended not that way, right? It wouldn't have ended with them happy skipping through roses. But I thought that just that right there, if she accepted and they went down that path, and obviously he's leaning more dark, she's probably going to pull towards the light, that dynamic, how are they going to go about, they're going to be butting heads on things. You know, I could just, the story could have went so awesome with the dynamic between them two, because like you said, I do think she was good casting. I think Adam Driver's good casting. Now you got two actors playing this role that just could have like really made an awesome ending to a film that was unexpected. But again, all that built up, the scene happened, and she goes no, and then you go off and she rejects him, and then you have this lightsaber pull issue, and I mean,
oh god,
it just went down the path that the cynic in me again was sitting there in the back of my head going, it's gonna go this way, and it happened. And I was like,
and that was its own problem too. They pulled the lightsaber apart, broke it.
Explosion.
It explodes and blows both of them back. Rey picks up the two pieces of the lightsaber and duct tapes them together for episode 6. But I would imagine that the explosion...
9. Episode 9.
Yeah, 9, not 6. I'm hung up on the good stuff. I imagine that the explosion was the kyber crystal being destroyed.
I agree.
Which means that, is that even Anakin's lightsaber anymore? Because the kyber crystal kind of chooses the Jedi.
Where did she get another one from?
She found it.
On the floor?
No, the Jawas had one.
Oh, okay. But again, that just goes to explain. You're like, what? When I saw the lightsaber again in the ninth one, I was like, wait, what? It's duct taped together. Where'd she? I thought the explosion was the kyber crystal.
Yeah.
What? And there was just so many. In the ninth one, there were so many. What? I was in the theater literally audibly at times going, huh? Like, oh man, it hurt. It hurt.
Well,
it hurt.
And then, like, going back to Rey's parentage, it would have avoided bringing Palpatine back. Because here we go, making characters that could have been new and engaging and everything related to the past. Like, we get this speech from Kylo about leave the past behind you, and they couldn't. Like, I was worried that Finn was going to be related to frickin' Lando. Or
right.
Even Mace Windu at that. I mean, they only had a couple of people to choose from. But but that's make them their own character. Having her related to Palpatine was dumb. And then to have her where she just explodes in a fit of anger, panic, and shoots lightning at
talking when they're both
shuttle.
pulling the shuttle down, Kylo and her.
And explodes it. And then all of a sudden, because she can shoot lightning, she's related to Palpatine. Like, come on.
No.
That is a Sith power that is shown several times by Sith, throughout the movies and
the multiverse.
And
of Star Wars.
It can easily be that she is that powerful, and in a fit of anger or panic or rage or whatever, that she shoots that lightning uncontrollably. We've all had that problem. But she shoots that uncontrollably, and now she has to come to terms with that. That she potentially hurt Chewie, which that whole storyline was fine. Like, I was fine with everybody worried that Chewie died, but we all knew that wasn't happening. But the expression of the lightning shouldn't have been like the key indicator that she's Palpatine's.
Yeah. You know what's funny, though, if I remember correctly, even back in The Force Awakens, her lightsaber fight with Kylo, people were talking, is she related to Palpatine because of her style? A lot of thrusting.
Yep.
A lot of thrusting. And then explode, and then accidental lightning explosions. But even back then, they had those theories, and again, like you're saying, people had so many theories of who she related to, all that, which is awesome. Unfortunately, I feel one of the weakest ones is what happened, what it came to be. But point is I definitely thought that the Palpatine issue, his comeback, we'll call it, was terrible. I didn't like that. It made, like you mentioned, it made the previous 6 essential films like almost kind of meaningless, because the whole arc there was kind of shot down by the 9th one. And then can we talk about, let's if we're on the Palpatine issue, can we talk about how he died?
We cannot. Oh God. Let me go through a quick introduction, because so the first time we see Palpatine die was at Vader's hands. The first time we are exposed to Palpatine and all of this, it's at Vader's hands. And Vader picks him up because of where Vader is, and I think Palpatine knows what's going on. Palpatine actually electrocutes himself to electrocute Vader
as well.
And you can see that in like Vader, you can see his face underneath the helmet where it electrocutes him. You can see also, if you pay attention very closely, that he is missing parts. As like his skeleton is lit up, you can see like parts of his arm are missing, and things that don't light up like the rest of his skeleton.
That are robotic.
Yeah, so I thought that was really kind of cool. But he electrocutes himself to electrocute Vader. So he probably would have killed himself had he not been thrown off the vent shaft exploding ball thing.
In my mind, it was almost a self-defense mechanism, where it was like, oh God, do something quick, and that was his reaction. And that's how I always took it, was that's the only way I can electrocute him, was I have to essentially electrify myself. And it worked until he said bye. Which was great. But I agree.
And
he had to electrocute himself.
I believe Anakin saw that happening to Mace.
I think he did. He was
present in the room.
I know he was present, but he walked in.
Yeah, he did.
When Mace was standing over him, so he might have walked in, seeing that.
So I wonder if Vader, in the back of his mind, knew that one of the most damaging things to Palpatine was his own lightning. Speaking of it, segue right into Mace. Mace was blocking that lightning with the lightsaber and basically pushing it back onto him, and it severely disfigured him, and it was weakening him, and Mace probably would have killed him with his own lightning. You could argue that Sidious did that on purpose to influence
Anakin's decision
to kill Mace, and allowed himself to be disfigured, allowed himself to be beaten. But Mace is a pretty damn powerful Jedi, and the best duelist, I believe.
One of, if not the.
And so that wasn't going to be like an easy manipulated fight, but him calling out for Anakin's help was a lot of the reason why Anakin turned. So here we are. He gets his lightning pushed back on it. Well, he electrocutes himself against Vader. Gets his lightning pushed back on him with Mace. Boom. What did he learn?
Well, what I've learned in life is third time's the charm. So I think he was like, look, first time it happened against Mace, okay. Second time it happened against Vader, all right. Third time it happens against Rey, that's what I was going for.
Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, shame on you. Or what? No, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Fool me 3 times, I deserve to die. I don't know what's going on.
I don't know what's happening.
Or it's the definition of insanity. Keep trying the same thing for a different outcome. Either way, he's an idiot and he's insane.
Well, and in the 9th one this time, there was no stopping. It was fully reflected. He didn't stop either, by the way.
No, he did not.
If you think
just
about
poured it on. Like, if it's not working, just do it harder.
Do it harder. Yeah, that's the thing that always drove me nuts watching that in the 9th movie, was he's doing it, she's reflecting, he's like, okay, stop. All right, I'll stop doing it. I'll stop it because that hurts. No, he said, I am all the Sith.
And I... I'm all the Jedi.
he just took it harder
and then he uses
and harder.
his lightning to take out. He shoots the lightning up into his own fleet that he's building for the last 30 years and destroys the whole damn thing. Like, he like single-handedly annihilated his own damn fleet. I mean, it could have been all the ships that came in, which actually I thought was actually a cool scene. It was better in Firefly. It was more well done in what was it, Serenity?
Yeah, Serenity.
It was done better then, but
that was
a cool scene.
But again, number one, the only thing I'll give it is when Palpatine was shooting the lightning up, it looked cool. That was it. That's all I'm going to give it.
It did look cool.
But here's another thing. You want to bring up that whole scene up in the what's going on in the outer thing? Dude, I couldn't. I mean, like, some part of me. So remember when they're all on the horses? They're on top of the one of the Star Destroyers.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't even think I call them Star Destroyers. Whatever. Yeah, they were Destroyers.
Yeah, they were Star Destroyers.
So you got Star Destroyers, and you've got this group of resistance, that's coming out on there, and they've got horses, and they're all attacking, and you've got the First Order firing back on them, and all this kind of stuff. And you think, as a captain of a ship, and you're like, we've got people on the exterior of this floating ship, because it's not a sea-bound vessel. We're a floating ship doing this, going through, right? Fighting happening on here. We've got a whole fleet of people on top of us.
They're
going to take out everything. Oh my God. Sir, please turn the ship.
Tilt to starboard.
Tilt the starboard. And you've got this whole group going.
Yep, that's that. Attack
Bring it
over.
Back.
Yep.
Good job.
Attack over.
Attack
they had
over.
magnetic hooves, though.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
All of them had
magic
magnetic
horses,
boots, too.
yeah.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
It's just some of this, that was kind of ridiculous. If we're talking on the ridiculous, I also would have changed, not only would I have changed that whole scene, which honestly I didn't even think looked that cool. Like for the shot, you know what I mean? You'll say, okay, you can suspend disbelief for the shot because it looks amazing. I didn't even think it looked that good. Let's also talk about the whole chase scene in Episode 8. So we have a chase scene of the Resistance and the First Order. The Resistance doesn't have enough fuel to make the jump, right? So they're essentially doing this in space, right? They're doing a chase scene. And one of the worst things you don't even have to know space. But what they did is you have the First Order bombarding the Resistance ships with laser blasts, right? Right? Okay, sounds logical. No. As they're going like this, you've got these cannons on the ships that are pointed like this that are firing laser blasts going as it's flying away. And I was like, those are lasers. You can see green laser plasma going up and then exploding. And I was like, that's not how it works. Like, I mean, they're literally they're firing like cannonballs, but this isn't cannonballs. You're firing superheated plasma that's going like that. Call it technology, call it futuristic. Maybe they had something, but I've never seen that in Star Wars up until this date. Well, and then not only that.
Why didn't they jump like, I don't know, 2 miles forward?
In front of them?
Yeah, and then
that's what I was about to get
all
to.
their ships.
was you're going at this rate, like the First Order isn't limited by anything.
Right.
You're limited by your fuel, I guess.
Right.
You're not limited. Send out whatever. Why didn't you send fighters? Why didn't you send other shit? Why, if they couldn't even make this jump, right? Send heavy bombers going in. Send all this, but no, they said, no, this is good. This is good. We'll keep firing laser blasts.
The slow and the stupid.
The slow and the stupid. And correct me if I'm wrong, I believe this chase scene was about a third of the movie.
Yeah, it was 2.
And then you've got the whole thing with Poe and the lady, I forgot her name, that took over for Leia while Leia was incapacitated. And you've got this whole storyline there that just...
Admiral Holdo.
Holdo? I don't know. But that whole thing didn't work. I'm going to be honest. I tuned out for most of that. There was a lot in 8 and 9 that just didn't work for me.
And then they bring up like Poe's leadership. And like he takes too many chances. It's too risky. He holds such a high like position that they can't afford to have him as a loose cannon. So then their tactic at the very beginning of Episode 9 is to send Poe by himself,
one ship,
relying on the fact that nobody's going to take a shot at him because he's just sitting there. So like he's not going to outrun a blaster if they shoot one of the cannons at him, or an ion cannon or whatever they want to shoot at him. He's relying on the fact that everybody's going to be absolutely patient with this Hitler-esque leader that blew up several planets, and then they just get into a prank phone call from like the Jerky Boys in the 80s or whatever, and that which in and of itself was just absolutely stupid, because there was no way General Hux would have engaged in that, at least the General Hux that we saw in
like
Seven, as like the person trying to impress Snoke over Kylo Ren, and that was just idiotic. And then they send in Poe by himself, so hopefully he doesn't get shot out of the sky while he's trying to take out a dreadnought by himself in an X-wing, and didn't send any ships or anything. Yeah, he was absolutely successful.
Absolutely.
He played it exactly the way he wanted to, exactly the way he drew it up, and then they run all these ships and blow it up. It was that whole thing was just too far-fetched to believe.
Yeah,
and
we're talking about Star Wars here. This is fantasy, right? This is not, and that's too far-fetched. When you say something's too far-fetched to believe, that's kind of hard.
And I'm a movie idiot. Like,
me
suspension
too.
of disbelief,
Absolutely.
It doesn't take me that much. Like, I'll watch Fast and Furious. I'm like, well, that's pretty cool how he did that stunt. There's no way that could have happened, but I still suspend disbelief like it's candy. Like it's nothing. But that, I was like, I don't know about that.
Well, it's because like, for example, like you bring up Fast and Furious. It's because Fast and Furious has set the precedent. For multiple movies, they're not really trying to take themselves seriously. We're going to jump a car from one building to another. And you are like, 2 movies ago, this guy jumped from a helicopter to this helicopter. You know what I mean? It's like, you can easily be like, that's part of the movie. And they know that too. They're kind of like, they know, they're not trying to take themselves too seriously. But Star Wars had set a precedent for 8 or 7 previous movies. We'll even go 6. 6 previous movies to where you have established what this universe entails. Yes, the Force is a part of the movie that is hard to understand in terms of we don't know exactly what it can entail, right? We've seen Force users, we've seen Force users do this, do that, something new come in, But other than that, it's set a precedent for the past 6 movies that we've come to expect. When you kind of just completely derail, it's hard for you to be like, oh, I'll suspend that disbelief, No. And I think Star Wars fans can relate to that, where they're like, you can't derail the ship completely from this precedent that you set for 6 movies over the course of 40 years, and shows, and animated shows and TV shows and all that. I just did not appreciate what they did in 8 and 9 to where, to me, you're on a track, they completely derailed it. And then they said, you're going to like it. I was like, I don't.
Yeah, and the other thing that I thought was kind of funny around Poe, we'll stay on this, but the best starfighter in the galaxy, Anakin Skywalker.
Yeah.
That's what Obi-Wan says. He was a great fan, best starfighter in the galaxy.
Yep.
And then
I'll
Luke.
take a drink to that.
Luke, also, fantastic starfighter, blows up the Death Star. Like, both of them powerfully Force sensitive.
Yeah.
They probably tapped into that, or they did tap into that
100%.
in order to pilot the way they did.
100%.
So we have Poe, who is an exceptionally good pilot, maybe even better on screen through either ability or the power of writing, is maybe a better pilot than Anakin and Luke. And the one that's Force sensitive is Finn, who didn't display anything aside from picking up a lightsaber and getting his ass handed to him.
Hey, he hit Kylo. He hurt him.
So I don't know what happened there either.
We won't even go down that rabbit hole.
If you're going to explain why Poe is that good, maybe lean on him to be the Force sensitive one. Finn's story was awesome, like a stormtrooper turning.
Absolutely.
I thought was fantastic, and it was a great character base and everything. And Jonathan Boyega did a great job.
Fantastic.
And I liked Finn as a character. There were some writing choices I was a little concerned about with him too, because there's a lot of whining Rey. But I think it probably would have been better to have Poe as the Force sensitive one.
I agree. And you bring up Finn, I'm going to bring up one quick scene.
Oh no.
I thought on Crate, when he was about to sacrifice himself.
Oh God.
I actually thought that the weight of him sacrificing himself there would have been amazing. It would have really done like a lot for not only him and his storyline, and like you're just like, oh my God, he just gave his life to like have the resistance be able to escape. Like it just there was emotion there, because one of the things I think we want to tap into.
I would have been torn up if that happened.
One of the things we want to tap into is the lack of emotionality in these movies. I couldn't connect to many characters. That right there would have brought something out of me, because through 7 and 8, he's a staple character, and when I saw him get even hit in the episode 7 lightsaber fight, I was like, oh shit, is he dead? You know?
Right.
And so you're like, oh no. Well, and he is alive. Okay, great. But now he's about to sacrifice life. You're like, oh no. And then out of nowhere, and you know, I won't go into details. The point is his ship gets knocked out of the way by another ship, and it's what's her name? And I forgot her name. Rose. And first of all, you've got two ships going full speed, and anyways, she derails him and says, "It's okay, and you're gonna make it.
We're not gonna lose anybody. Like, we're not gonna sacrifice everybody.
Yeah, that's right.
One person to save everybody.
Yeah.
Wait a second though. Holdo just drove the ship at light speed through the entire fleet.
Right.
5 minutes before.
Right. That's it. Yeah. Sorry. And that right there, if I'm not mistaken, after they have that conversation, that thing, then it cuts back to them in the to the rest of the resistance in like the little fortress area thing, and it's almost like, I think a minute or two later, and then they're there again in the fortress, and you're like, did they walk? What? That was a long ways away.
Yeah, they had to walk through the enemy lines. And
I'm just really confused here. And also, he was going to give his life to blow that because they were coming in with, I think, AT-ATs, and
MTs, I think.
MTs, whatever they're called in the resistance, and like all of that just got subverted. And now, they were still going then. Like, what? It didn't make any sense to me.
No.
Made zero sense. And it was, again, right there. And then it's hard for me to care again. Because then I'm like, oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Hard for me to care.
So let's talk about the emotionality for a second. I have watched Star Wars my whole life. And there were aspects about it that, like, as a kid, I cheered when they blew up the Death Star, and I cheered when they beat the Emperor, and I was upset whenever Vader was revealed as Luke's father. I didn't know if Luke or if Obi-Wan was a liar or if Vader was a liar, and like, it was a really difficult thing as a child to conceptualize that a good guy was going to be a liar. And there was a lot of innocence lost, I think, when that was revealed. And I wish that everyone could have experienced like hearing that for the first time, because now it's just common knowledge. So you probably had that spoiled for you before you ever watched Empire or could even understand what was going on. And but it really messed people up for a long time. And we didn't have the internet. We didn't have VHS. So we got to watch it if they showed like Star Wars or Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi. If they happened to show it on like NBC or ABC or something on some special movie presentation every 2 years or something. Like, we just didn't get a chance to review it. There was no internet to talk about it. So you just sat there in your own like confusion for 3 years until the next movie came out. So like, there's a lot that kind of played with a kid's head and really just kind of pulled you into the entire story as a whole. Like, even if the original trilogy came out now, it would get picked apart and how the story is going to get moved along or whatever. But I think that's why so many people took to the original trilogy, because the story was its own, like, it was George Lucas's creation. It wasn't like influenced. The directors, they weren't all directed by George Lucas. So like, there was a lot of other input and discussion and things. And so it was perfectly crafted. And then the prequel trilogy came out, and you get to see how Anakin fell, and like how these two brothers basically aren't that anymore.
That's what I grew up was the prequel trilogy. You want to talk about emotion, is loving two characters through the 3 movies. I loved Obi-Wan, my favorite character in like all of Star Wars. I loved Anakin.
Yeah.
Even knowing what was about to happen.
Oh yeah.
Loved Anakin.
We all knew.
And having them and their interactions in the movies, and that third episode and their battle, and you're just torn up. You know how it's gonna end.
Yeah.
And you're still torn up
Yeah.
because there was so much weight and emotion to those scenes. And I think Ewan McGregor and Hayden
Padme
Christensen
dying.
nailed it. Like they just nailed it. That fight is one of my favorite lightsaber fights in all
Yeah,
of Star
it's
Wars.
awesome.
But you want to talk about emotionality? Like I was connected and I was in.
Yep.
I was in, and I think Revenge of the Sith is one of my favorite Star Wars movies. But
It was
but
amazing.
point is there is massive amounts of emotion in those movies, and especially the third movie. So yeah, the original trilogy, the prequel trilogy,
Then the
brought
sequel
us-
trilogy came out and united the original trilogy people and the prequel trilogy to know that there were much better movies out there. And the
spoken
the
like a true
original
wise man.
cast was in the sequel trilogy. You had
Han.
Luke Skywalker. Han died in 7.
Yeah.
Luke dies in 8. Leia dies in 9. And then we're at a point where like these actors like over that course, Peter Mayhew and Carrie Fisher and like they were all just really dying, and so there was a lot of emotion for like to see these actors, and that's unfortunately kind of where I'm getting to is these actors that I love are passing away, and so there was kind of a lot of pressure, I think, put on them to make sure that there was a suitable send-off for each of the characters, that that they honored them and their roles in Star Wars, even if they aren't with us anymore, and they like played to Harrison Ford, where he said he didn't even really want to continue into Episode 6. So if they're going to bring him back for Episode 7, then they're going to give him the send-off that he wanted, and so. And then him popping up in 9 was actually pretty cool, and that was actually a very well done scene.
That
if I'm
actually
to give
was.
a little bit of credit. But I had just watched the Infinity Saga, and I snot cried when Tony Stark snapped, and like all the aftermath from that, and like I was upset whenever Peter disappeared in Infinity War, and like that was emotional, and I had only been watching it since 2009 or something, and so 10 years of investment into the Infinity Saga, and I was invested. Like I was torn up.
Yep.
And I kind of hoped for that, I think, with the end of the Star Wars saga, or the
where you felt
Skywalker
the same.
saga. That they're going to tie up this story that's been Skywalker the whole time, and I think whenever Episode 9 ended, I looked at my phone to see if there was an end-credit scene, and then I checked to see if my wallet and keys were in my pocket, and we took off. Like I wasn't upset. Like I was upset that,
But not
that
that
that's
same
how it
way.
ended.
Not
but
the same way.
I didn't connect with the characters. I wasn't invested in the story, and I know that there was this clash between fans who wanted more and the producers, directors, writers, everybody that were like, no, we delivered. We wrote a strong female character. We did this, and it's fine. Like, Star Wars fans wanted more. Everybody involved with the making of the movie felt like they delivered. But I will just say that I didn't connect to the characters.
I agree.
And no matter what everybody thinks that they did or what they did do, I didn't connect.
I agree. And that's unfortunate because, like you said, coming straight from Avengers Endgame and all those, you know, that also is a massive, huge universe, right? You know, all that kind of stuff. I would love to just feel something similar because this was the send-off. This was the end of the Skywalker saga. Unfortunately, I didn't hit that. And, you know, I think I would love to for another shot at it. Like, I'd love for them to try another shot, but I think it's too late, right?
Yeah.
Unfortunately. What I would love to see, if we're going to move on from this, what I would love to see is, you know, there is a lot of Star Wars out there. A lot of content out there still to be made. To see the big screen, on the big screen, I would love to explore, like, the High Republic era. which you really didn't get to do in any media, really, even the shows. Nothing's really touched on that. We have some games, and oh my goodness, like pick like Knights of the Old Republic. You know, some of the CGI cutscenes and things that are in those are amazing. There's so much story to be had there. I'd love to see that next.
Did you see Kathleen Kennedy's announcement in Star Wars Con?
No.
Oh, okay. So
Was that recent?
Yes. Star Wars Con was just last week.
Oh, okay. You're right.
This current week, I think.
Yes. But I didn't hear this.
She made an announcement, and there were 3 movies announced, and unfortunately, I can only recall 2 of them. But one of them is The First Jedi. Like the first Force user, first lightsaber, and everything. They're going to explore that story.
Okay.
And I think that could be kind of
That
interesting.
could be interesting.
Another one, I'm willing to give it a chance because, like
Oh,
I
no.
said,
What is
I like
it?
Daisy Ridley. Is
Oh, I heard about
they
this. She's
wanted
coming
to
back.
have her running her own Jedi school,
I
like
did
a
hear
Jedi
about that.
Academy where she's training the future
Yes,
Jedi.
I heard she was coming back. I knew nothing else, so that's interesting.
And honestly, like they kind of alluded to the whole like hope and everything, and the kid that brings the broom
Yes.
to him with the Force and everything.
Yes.
And I'd be willing to invest in that because I don't think the fault is Daisy Ridley. And I
don't blame
like
her at all.
For Rey's character, just maybe not going the direction everybody wanted. And I do think that Star Wars writers and producers probably, I feel like they learned something because there was a lot of backlash in this trilogy, and a lot of the stuff that they're putting out right now is pretty good. Like,
Yeah, for the most
Book
part.
of Boba Fett had something to be desired until Mando came in and saved it.
Thank goodness. But yeah, and I guess maybe I'm excited actually to hear that. Even the Rey, running her own school, I'm excited to hear that. I need something new, even though Mando's out right now, right? That's not
It's still in
necessarily
the same area,
fresh.
though. Yeah.
He's been out for 3-4 years, and this season, in my opinion, is the weakest season so far. Gotta have some sort of, like, what's going on? We're not going to delve into that. But point is I'm excited for something fresh, and hearing that first Force user lightsaber,
that's kind of cool.
That has piqued my interest.
Yeah.
So maybe we're going to have some good Star Wars content in the near future. I honestly, I'm looking forward to that. I can't wait to hear the new announcement and to get pre-ordered tickets to go to the big screen and watch the next new Star Wars flick. That's what I'm excited for. Hopefully it's good, but I'm ready for that.
Yeah.
That's going to be sweet.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good stopping point. I think we've gone over a lot.
Yeah, I agree.
As we know, it's too late to redo this sequel trilogy. And as a lifelong fan of the universe, I was just hoping for more.
Yeah.
But on the uptick, join us next episode where we're going to discuss some of the best open world video games and which one has taken the most time away from your real life responsibilities as you explored that world.
Oh, I'm embarrassed on some of those. But that is actually going to be a great topic, I think, because there are some gems out there. That's for sure. That's stolen a lot of my time. But that'll be fun indeed. So that'll be next week on episode number 5. So if you enjoyed this video, please do consider hitting that like and subscribe button. That would be much appreciated. And also, let us know in the comments below what you think is your favorite part of the sequel trilogy. Because as we talked about, there was not a lot good, but there was some good, I think. So let us know. Let us know what you thought was your favorite part or most hated part. That's always fun too. But that'll be good. So thanks again, and until next time, stay geeky.